afternoon, everyone. This is Julie with the Local Search Association, and I would like to welcome you to the LSA webinar series. Today's webinar is titled Searching Beyond the Engines and will be brought to you by our guest presenters, Jonathan Rosen from Kenshoo and Steve King and Tara Thomas from Sim Partners. Feel free to type any questions you may have in the question box on the screen. At the conclusion of the presentation, the presenters will be more than happy to answer those questions. And with that, we're ready to begin. It's over to you, Jonathan.
Great, thanks, and welcome everybody. Today we're going to take you through a great presentation about different mobile and online advertising opportunities that go beyond search engines. And mobile is a really important part to consider when we're looking at search and opportunities beyond the engines. How are people accessing local content, and how you can take advantage of both owned and paid opportunities to get your brand or small business or one of your clients, depending on your role, out in front of interested customers and prospective clients. So let's talk about who we're going to be presenting today. So I'm Jonathan Rosen. I'm the Director of Product Marketing at Kenshoo, and I've invited two guests to present along with me because as I was putting together content, I realized that some of the folks I've learned the most from on this subject are my friends at Sim Partners. And so we have Steve King, the Director of Product Strategy at Sim Partners, joining us. We also have Tara Thomas, who's the Vice President of Client Strategy at Sim Partners, joining us. So let's talk a little bit about our agenda today. We're going to give you a market overview, first of all, to give you an idea of what this landscape looks like. Then we'll talk a little bit about local directories. And then we'll focus on this mobile local apps opportunity, what's out there and what you can do to take advantage of it. And then we'll talk about the importance of reviews, how getting reviews for your place pages can really put them above the rest of the competition. Then I'll talk a little bit to you about Kenshoo Local and the product we have at Kenshoo that serves this market. And finally, we'll talk about what we've done recently with CityGrid and how CityGrid ties this all together, helping you access local mobile places and local mobile applications so that you can get right out in front of prospective clients to take advantage of these opportunities. So, Tara, over to you. Let's go through the market overview.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jonathan. First and foremost, thank you to Kenshoo and Jonathan specifically for asking us to join today. We were thrilled to dive in and talk about what we live and breathe every day as it relates to local. And thank you to LSA for hosting the webinar as well. There's going to be some really great information. We're excited to share it with you. So with that, this is definitely a good place to start, the digital advertising fragmentation. As everyone knows on the line, fragmentation continues to be in front of us, and there's a lot of different areas that we kind of look at as we relate to fragmentation. So, where are consumers searching today? How are they finding local businesses? How are they finding brick and mortar location businesses under a brand.com umbrella? So outside of the engines being our topic today, we're going to talk a lot about the local arena outside of the engine specifically. But I thought this would be a good thing to share with everyone because it really quickly gives you a snapshot of here are all these things that consumers are doing. Not only are they looking through SEO, PPC, mobile, social, but they're doing it through multiple devices, whether it's desktop, tablet, GPS, or mobile. So, kind of the core of our offering and things that we align very nicely with Kenshoo on is really that automation piece of it. So what's the technology that allows consumers to really find businesses and give the businesses the tools to be found, if that makes sense? So hyperlocal, I know everyone's hearing hyperlocal all the time. As I mentioned earlier, it's where we kind of spend most of our time with customers today. So this slide does a really nice job of explaining the importance of hyperlocal strategy, right? So if you start here at local pages, our goal is to create local pages for every location, drive local traffic. We're seeing higher conversions with this strategy. We're utilizing local copy. We're dominating more real estate in the space. We're creating multiple domains and multiple ads as it relates to a national to local strategy. There's geo-specific information. We're providing local reporting. Again, we're seeing multiple ads per market, per device. And in my opinion, what's very important is that all of this is very scalable and very turnkey for brands that we work with today. So the goal really is, maximizing the SERP whether it's through PPC and geo-specific messaging, as well as optimizing down to that hyper-local level. So making sure you're directing all ads and traffic to a location or specific landing page. And then finally, just really looking at all visits, web forms, phone calls, clicks, etc., and making sure we're tracking that uniquely to all the different things that are happening within the local arena. So we wanted to share some information from eMarketer. I have a feeling a lot of you have seen this information, and it's nothing that we probably aren't surprised about, but I think it's good to really start today off with the opportunity as it relates to spending worldwide, as it relates to local. So you'll notice here you have search ad spending worldwide going from $40 billion to $77 billion by 2017. That's astronomical. You have local ad revenues worldwide going from $74 billion to $85 billion. And finally, the social component, right? So going from 2011 being at 38.7%, you're seeing a shift here to 23, but notice the spend here, $5 billion to $14 billion. So the opportunity as it relates to agencies, publishers, CMRs, technology providers like ourselves and Kenshoo, the opportunity is ours to really maximize that space and help those brands kind of navigate through the space so that they're using their investments wisely and capturing customers where local really matters for them, depending on their verticals. Again, just a snapshot of global digital ad spend. So looking at the change depending on the media type, and then really just trying to understand total media and total ad spending. So I don't want to spend a lot of time there. Certainly go back and take a look at that information if you've never seen it. It's worth looking at. But I want to make sure we've got time to really dive into more of the content. And I will conclude this piece with mobile is big. We all know that. For several years we kept hearing it's the year of mobile, it's the year of mobile. Well, finally, it was the year of mobile, right? We saw mobile come in and really take over that desktop piece. If you look there. So 2011, smartphones exceed personal computer sales. Pretty big milestone. The next milestone that we're looking to see is mobile internet surpassing desktop internet. So those are all conversations we have with customers, and it's important that everyone really thinks about how the shift's happening and when we see that milestone approaching. And then finally, ad spending is not catching up yet. It's interesting, and I had the team kind of pull a lot of this together, again, through This is eMarketer. But looking at this online piece, I thought it was really interesting. 24.8% is the time spent, but we're only at 20% with the actual ad spending that's happening within the online category. So interesting to see how TV and print and radio and mobile are looking. Same thing with mobile. We haven't caught up. So we're going to see a really big shift in the dollars as it relates to budgets as we move forward. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Steve King, who's our head of product at SimPartners, and he is going to actually take us through local directories outside of the big players and talk a lot about data distribution, why data is important, and the ecosystem of local search. So Steve, I'm going to hand this over to you.
Great, thank you, Tara. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining. First up, what I'm going to go through is the local directories. So all of the sites outside of the major three search engines where your local data, your business, your individual locations information is showing up. So the first slide we have here is called the local ecosystem slide. Internally, what we generally refer to it as is the spaghetti matrix, since, as you can see, it looks like a big pile of spaghetti. But what this really helps me to illuminate is that all of these different sites actually end up relying on one another. If you're approaching your local directory strategy and how your location information is showing up on each site as sort of a silo per site, you're not really looking at it in the broadest sense. So individual sites like a yellow bot will look at the information on Google Places. Google will look at the information on fave.com. And they actually run comparisons of the data that's on each of these sites. So Fave will say, hey, we have a local area code for this business, but Yelp has an 800 number. Therefore, we can't really trust the information we have in our system because it might be inaccurate, and we don't want the visitors to our site to run into inaccurate data. So what they end up doing is deranking the listings where they're seeing inaccurate data. And as a result, it gets fewer visitors and less visibility. So one of the things you want to make sure you're doing is having sort of an accurate data strategy across a wide number of sites. So when looking at data on these sites, we usually term it as a data feed and data distribution plan. You want to make sure that you're sending out clean and accurate data. So not only do you make sure that the information for each location is correct, but that you're sending out the exact same information across all of these sites. So that way, when a Yelp references a Yellow Pages, Yelp's system is seeing the exact same information, and they're saying, hey, we got good data. The visitors to our site are going to get good data. We want to make sure that the visitors see this information when they're doing a search for your business in your area. Also, a good data distribution plan makes sure that you're not doing duplicate listings on any of these sites. So I'm sure some of you have run into it where you do a search on Yelp for a pizza place, for example, and you actually end up seeing multiple listings for the same business on Yelp. Off the cuff, it looks like this is great because it gets you more real estate for your business, but actually what it does is it degrades the data within these local directory systems over time, and you end up doing more poorly than you would if you just had one combined listing on their site. The other reason that you really want to make sure that you're getting your data onto all these sites and you're getting it there accurately is not simply because all of these sites are referencing one another, but also because of what in the industry is termed citations. So a citation is every place on the internet where your business's information shows up. And the search engines such as Google, Yahoo, and Bing, a lot of these directories that do searches and search ranking like a Yelp or a Yellow Pages, they go out and they have systems that go out and look at how many times your business information shows up on these different pages. The ones that have more citations are seen as more popular and therefore more likely and more relevant to the searchers. So by really getting a good data feed and data distribution plan in place, you're really covering yourself to not only have accurate data, so all of these sites look at your information and say, hey, it's good, but also so that when they're doing their algorithms to rank locations, they're saying, hey, this is a popular location. Now, to touch all of these sites is a huge effort. So what we usually do when we're working with clients is through the SIM Partner system, we actually get them set up through a lot of the different data aggregators. And what the data aggregator does is it's one place where you can send all of your information, and then they reformat all of the information, they clean it up, and then they hit all of these different sites. So it's really the easiest way and most cost-effective way to make sure that your information is getting to where it needs to be. Next up, I'm going to talk a little bit about local apps. So previously, we're looking at many of the major websites that are out there where people are doing local searches. They're obviously also doing searches on mobile devices. As Tara pointed out earlier, mobile growth is, the number of mobile devices out there is exploding, and people are using not only their search functionality and maps functionality, but they're actually going into individual apps to do searches for local businesses. So on this slide, you can actually see app usage for local business searches. Google Maps, Apple Maps, Yahoo, these are sites that people initially think of when they're making sure that their business is showing up for mobile searches. But what a lot of people don't consider are places like a Facebook or a City Search or even White Pages or Yellow Pages, where plenty of people are spending a fair amount of time when they're doing searches, 25, 15% of their time, looking for local businesses. So if your information isn't there or your information isn't accurate, you're losing out on a large number of searches. So here I just have a slide on Facebook. So as we looked at before, some of the local aggregators, Locally's is one of those data aggregators for local information. And they actually help seed information, the business information on Facebook. And the numbers below, what you'll see is there are over 77 million downloads for Android devices for the Facebook application and 131 million for the iPhone. So these are not searches. These are actual mobile devices, people who are using it, that have this app and are most likely doing local searches of some sort or another. Same for Urban Spoon. You're looking at 11 million downloads for Android and over 2 million for the iPhone. So if you're a restaurant and you're not showing up on Urban Spoon, you really need to make sure you're getting your information there so that way when people are doing their searches, you're showing up. And again, the same for City Search. You want to make sure all of your information is there because you're looking at over 1 million different people who are doing searches on their devices in order to pull back local information. So next up, we're going to talk about the importance of reviews. When talking about different sites outside of the major search engines, obviously data and getting your information into these different directories is very important. People are doing searches there. These sites are referencing one another. You have citations. You have data accuracy. But we also want to look at the review side of it. So sites such as Yelp, CitySearch, Yahoo, all of these are collecting reviews. People are leaving reviews about businesses. One of the things that we found over time is that an increased number of reviews on these sites actually correlates to higher rankings on some of the search engines, specifically Google+ Local. So even though our focus today isn't on rankings for Google+, it's good to know that the work that you're doing on these other sites will also aid you in, on Google. Reviews also generate searcher trust. So a business that doesn't have any reviews, your searchers are going to be a little concerned. They're going to wonder why this business hasn't had anyone review them yet. Because as online searchers and consumers, we're used to seeing online reviews. But one of the biggest concerns that businesses have when I work with them is that they're going to get negative reviews. Obviously, no one wants to hear something negative about their business, be it true, be it not true. But what you need to understand is that these days searchers are savvy enough to take into account negative reviews. So if the majority of your reviews are positive, people are going to overlook a few negative reviews because we all know that there's someone cranky down the street who just had a bad day and needed to vent. When looking at these review sites, you don't want to create fake customer reviews because fake customer reviews, these sites do a lot in terms of identifying who is leaving reviews and trying to avoid allowing fake reviews to show up on their site because it weakens their data. Consumers lose trust in the information they find. So Yelp has algorithms that check what computer reviews have been left from, how often reviews are being left from this specific computer. And if they feel that certain reviews are fake, at first they'll pull down some of those reviews, and then in a worst case scenario, they might actually pull your listing from the site. So just go ahead and avoid trying to convince your employees to go ahead and leave reviews and really focus on the customer aspect. But then again, how do you go about generating reviews? Because it's always nice to ask someone for reviews. The question is, will they actually leave the review? Well, the truth is, if you're asking your customers for reviews, you are going to get a lot more reviews. A lot of businesses think that if they put up that Yelp sticker or a Review Us On Google Plus sticker, that that's enough to encourage customers to go ahead and get online and leave a review. But really, you need to get in front of them. It's like anything else. If you want that, you need to ask for it. So go ahead and ask your satisfied customers, people who seem to have had a good experience. Remind them that a review is helpful for you. Also, if you have email contact with your customers, don't hesitate to go ahead and put in a request in an email for them to go ahead and review your business. If you do location-specific emails so that people know to come back to the location in Evanston, go ahead and make sure to put a specific link to the Evanston Yelp location review into that email. So that way it's just one click away for your customers. And finally, one of our power tips in order to really help generate reviews is to go ahead and encourage your employees to request these reviews and incentivize them. Employees that get mentioned in the most reviews end up getting some sort of prize. What we actually ended up seeing when we did tests with a customer of ours who does home service is that when employees who were at the home asked for a review and let folks know, hey, my boss is going to be looking at the reviews, and this goes into my evaluation, so please go ahead and review me. Those locations got 50 to 60% more reviews than the locations where people just left a lead behind. There's something intrinsic about us where human beings want to help one another, and as great as your business is, as great as your brand is, having that personal connection and knowing as a customer that I'm helping another person is going to incentivize me to go ahead and leave that review. So this is a great way to go about generating more reviews without sort of losing anything in that customer transaction. So now I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, John.
Thanks, Steve, and thank you, Tara, also. Great content here. And in 1 second as I get my section of the slide. So again, this is John Rosen from Kenshoo. And what I want to try and do here is tie the opportunities that Steve and Tara have identified in the market together with how you can take action using a solution like Kenshoo and what we've done with CityGrid to really give you better access to putting yourself out and in front of prospective customers on these local place page opportunities as well as on these mobile apps, and really just this entire ecosystem of different opportunities to get in front of prospective customers beyond the engines. Right? So traditionally we thought so much about how do we get into pay-per-click advertising on the engines, and a lot of budgets go there. But what's amazing is that there are lots of opportunities beyond them, and it's what Steve and Tara have identified is a number of them. And what I'm going to talk to you about is our technology solution that'll help you essentially get your campaigns out onto those avenues. So first, let me talk a little bit at a higher level about what it is that Kenshoo Local does. So many of you are probably familiar with the Kenshoo Local solution at some level, so I'm not going to do a very deep dive, but more just an overview. And anybody who would like to do a real deep dive on this, we welcome the opportunity to take you through all of our deep functionality and whatnot around search, social, attribution, and local here. But Kenshoo Local has really two different sorts of value propositions. They're similar, but they're a little different depending on where you sit. I know we have a range of different attendees on the call, so I'm going to target kind of the two biggest use cases. So we have agencies and media who need to efficiently manage thousands of small businesses. You have tons of clients that are coming to you saying, hey, I want to be seen. I want to be seen. And because you have such a high volume, you need to enable rapid onboarding to get all of these different businesses online and out in front of prospects. You need to automate the budget management because you need to be able to scale to deal with all of the different clients. You need to increase the calls and conversions for them, of course, so that you can drive return on their investment and so that you can retain them as customers. And then you need to automate the reporting. You need to be able to demonstrate that return on investment to them through intelligent reporting, and to be able to do that at scale, you got to automate it. So those are the problems that Kenshoo Local solves for agencies and media. Of course, there are other ones, but I think those are the four main ones we want to focus on. Now, if you're a brand, if you're a national brand, a regional brand, you have a similar but different set of problems. You have all of your local stores, the brick-and-mortar locations that you need to drive in-store visits and phone calls to. You need to help them execute on their individual local strategy. And in order to do that, you need to be able to do it at scale. Perhaps you need to start and stop campaigns as the locations open and close. And if you're a large national brand with thousands of locations, they could be open and closing frequently as the market fluctuates and as you identify opportunities to pursue and places where you no longer want to compete. So that's important, as well as just locations in their store hours, as we'll get into also. So there's a little bit of a double meaning there. And of course, you need to manage store level budgets. Not every store has the same budget, and you need to be able to adjust for that and to be able to do that at scale. And of course, at the end of the day, what you want to do is access local and mobile traffic so you're able to channel that into your stores so that you get calls or in-store visits occurring so that you can generate revenue and see a return on your investment here. So Kenshoo Local helps execute on all of those different opportunities. When I think about the four sorts of areas of core competence, four key sorts of value propositions that we have at a very high level, there's onboarding, how we actually get these individual places, these locations, these clients' businesses, or these store locations, depending on who you are, online into the system and executing on their campaigns. Then there's the ongoing management on the day-to-day. How do you actually execute on each store's strategy and then push it forward and optimize accordingly? And once you've done that, of course, what you need to do is report against that. And so we've built a very flexible and automated reporting framework into Kenshoo Local to allow you to not only achieve the results you need, but to make them visible, and so that you can make them visible to yourself at a management level, as well as to make them visible to either your clients on an individual level or to your stores to let them know how they're performing and how digital is affecting their market. And then Kenshoo Local also is very strong in terms of our global support. Kenshoo is a global company with offices around the world, and we're able to offer support in so many different markets and in a really white glove sort of manner. That's really how we position ourselves and execute, is being a premium play and offering white glove support where your day-to-day contacts are people who are very experienced in digital marketing as well as local. One area I think I want to focus on, because I think it's a really interesting one, is our campaign templates. And I'm going to focus here, rather than taking you through the whole onboarding suite. That's something, like I said, we can do on a deep dive. I just am going to focus on a couple features. And so campaign templates is a really good one to think about, is that you never really have to start from scratch. So whether you're a agency or media outlet who has hundreds or thousands of customers that need to get onboarded, or whether you're a brand with lots of stores that are going to have similar campaigns, the templates option we have here is something that allows you to take and essentially save your campaigns to make templates out of them. It could be by keywords. So for example, right here you see if you are a small agency and you serve lots of attorneys, well, if you've done bankruptcy attorneys, you can have a number of different bankruptcy attorney templates. You can have all the different keywords that apply to bankruptcy attorneys, and then you have their ads. So you don't have to write those over again. And if you're a store, you can do that also. So if you have all very similar successful ads and you want to put them into different local markets, you're able to create those here and save them. You could do that regionally. So you can really, if the different regional ads are working better in the southeast and you need something a little bit different in the northwest, well, you can even save those. So you get a lot of flexibility here, and you're able to essentially achieve a bit of automation and save a lot of time on the processing. So that's a really helpful functionality we have. One more functionality, and this is perhaps what Kenshoo is best known for, because we are known as a company that really has focused on applying science and math to the art of marketing, is our bid management, which really gives you the ultimate flexibility and transparency. We've created a number of different bid policies that allow you to automate bidding. So the bid policies that we have today allow you to apply them, such as bid to an ROI goal or bid to a CPA goal. We allow you to apply those to your campaigns so that the bidding is automated by our system, allowing you to focus on the strategy rather than changing bids all of the time. What's really impressive about Kenshoo's competencies here is how we've taken and focused on building this out algorithmically. In fact, recently we released our patent-pending active cluster technology, which allows for very, very low data sufficiency. Instead of hundreds of conversions and thousands of clicks that many automated solutions would need in order to algorithmically project how do we get to a certain ROI or CPA, we've introduced this active cluster technology, which has extremely low data sufficiency requirements, meaning that it's much more applicable on the local scale where you don't have thousands of clicks and hundreds of conversions all of the time, such as national campaigns would have. So essentially what we've done is we've developed really specific technology here that has low data sufficiency that makes automated algorithmic bidding possible at a local level to meet the data requirements at that level. So this is a really, really impressive advance that Kenshoo has made in terms of serving the local market. And then, of course, we offer a number of different rules-based opportunities where you're actually able to define customized rules for bidding. And so we have something called advanced search, which has a number of different applications in terms of letting you find campaigns and then schedule actions to be taken upon them. But what this allows you to do is say a lot of if-then statements, introduce Boolean logic. If something drops below a ROI, or then change to X, or if something has fewer conversions, then increase bid by X%. So you're able to set up all of these sorts of rules here using advanced search and execute upon that. So it allows a lot of custom customization that you can use to really address various different needs in various different markets at the local level. At the end of the day, what we also realize in terms of a local solution is that it's really important to be able to drive that traffic to stores and then to measure the traffic. And in the local market, a lot of that traffic will come from calls. And what we've introduced there is something called call conversion optimization. And essentially, if you're working with a call tracking provider, we integrate with the call tracking provider to get data back from them on the calls that are coming in. And those look like conversions to us. And what we do is we measure the clicks in your campaigns, then we compare that using algorithms with the calls that have come in, and we use those phone numbers to track back to how did this ad convert. Okay, we clicked, did we get the call, what did that look like, and then we're able to actually optimize the campaigns you have running on Kenshoo by tracking the actual calls you have coming in. So people that have looked at your ad and people that have gone through it and actually converted by calling into the store, we're able to take that behavior and use that to optimize your campaigns, leveraging the automated bidding solutions that we just discussed a moment ago. So this is a really interesting technology that we're really proud of and is working great for a number of our customers. But it doesn't really stop there, because we realize that while focusing on these sorts of opportunities to bid and to optimize on calls for the search market was really serving a huge need for our customers, that it didn't address all of the different places that customers are searching. Because as we just heard from Stephen Tenner, people are going beyond the engines today. People are looking on mobile more and more. And what's really interesting about mobile, it's really fascinating to me, is that it's not just about accessing mobile through the internet, like through a browser, rather. People aren't just using browsers anymore. They're using these mobile applications. Somebody isn't necessarily going to Google and searching for a restaurant. Tonight, I'm going out to the theater with my girlfriend, and we needed to find a restaurant. And I actually did use Urban Spoon to find a restaurant in that neighborhood near where we're going to the theater. I didn't try to Google it. In fact, I thought I'd get a better experience in this case just from using Urban Spoon because of the way it works in that interface. So that represents just an amazing opportunity to take advantage of the change in how people are interacting with technology today. And so what we needed to do for Kenshoo Local to be able to tap into those opportunities is find a partner to add as a channel to Kenshoo Local that would allow customers to be able to push their campaigns into all of these different channels beyond the engines. And so that partner for us is CityGrid. And so CityGrid is the largest local search network in America. And they have over 140 million unique users across more than 300 partner sites. So what do those partner sites look like? Well, these partner sites include Urban Spoon, who's actually a CityGrid company, but also Yellow Pages, right? YP.com, Yellow Book, Ask, AOL, Menu Pages, Insider Pages, all of these local sites as well as mobile applications have opportunities for paid placements as well as just to place listings. And so what CityGrid allows you to do is put paid campaigns and paid placement into the user's experience on these sites. And so what I could have seen is a paid placement on Urban Spoon. Or had I gone to another site, I could have seen the paid placement of a restaurant that wanted to show me an Italian restaurant. And restaurants are such an easy, a very easy and common example to use, but of course it's not limited to restaurants. But I could have seen a paid placement, and that could have triggered me to make a reservation, to call and convert, or to do it online. And that's just a huge opportunity, and that's what we want you to be able to tap into, are opportunities like that. So when I think about exactly how this works a little more, let me dive a little bit deeper into it and try and make it less abstract. CityGrid allows you to advertise on over 300 local and mobile websites and applications, and we ran through a few of those. What's really unique about them, though, is beyond that they're just not a search engine per se, such as Google or Yahoo, Bing, that they're their own sorts of websites, directories, applications, is that the audiences that they bring are really high quality. They're ready to buy. When I was looking for that restaurant tonight, I needed to make a reservation. I'm ready to go, right? I wasn't just browsing restaurants because I wanted one in the future. Tonight, I'm going to a restaurant and I need a reservation. So that's a really great demographic to be able to tap into. And that's what these sites offer. And on the next page in this presentation, I'll talk about some stats in them, and it's really impressive. What's also really great is that the CPC tends to be a bit lower in these sites. So when you're thinking about your campaigns holistically, going beyond the engines can have a really amazing ROI with not only a lower CPC, but accessing a demographic that's really impressive. And so what we do, looking at the bottom of this slide, is we allow you to enter all of those different locations into Kenshoo, and then you're able to create campaigns for them. And these campaigns would go out into all of those different 300 local mobile websites and applications on CityGrid. And then CityGrid will push them out when people are using those applications to search for or to access, to navigate to, maybe browse to a different local business. So that could be on a mobile, and you might come up somewhere in the results, maybe at the top, maybe highlighted. It all depends on the different application. They all have different ways that they involve paid placement. Or it could be on a local website. So if you see there on the right, it could be maybe there are sponsored links, maybe there are ads on the right. It all depends, but it does allow you to interact with these customers in their active buying cycle, which is really what's important here. I told you I'd tell you a little bit more about the demographics, and the demographics are really staggering. 48% of these users who don't have a specific business in mind when they're conducting a search. So they're not searching for, a specific Italian restaurant. They're not searching for Gino's Bistro per se and trying to go, oh yeah, I want to go to Gino's. What's that number again? Half of them, 48%, are just trying to find an Italian restaurant that they want to go to dinner at tonight. What's even better is that 60% of these interactions that users are having with either these mobile applications or these local sites or directories is that they're going to end up making a purchase or a reservation, just like I did this morning. So where do the campaigns actually go? To kind of put it in a couple buckets for you, it could be on search engines, they could be on mobile, they could be in local guides, they could be in local directories. Those are kind of the four buckets that I think it's easiest to kind of group the different 300 sites that CityGrid gives access to. And then you come up on those pages and you're able to access these high-quality demographics. If you think about the different sorts of businesses that are most focused on by CityGrid, and not limited, but they built their core competencies in 15 areas and really tried to push them. Retail, financial services, home services, that's a big one. Hotels, automotive, real estate, restaurants, storage, electronics, furniture stores, legal, such as those bankruptcy attorneys on our template side, drug stores, dental, insurance, and appliances. And again, it's not limited to these, but these are the top 15. So if you're a business in these areas, or if you're an agency or media outlet that has high levels of customers in these, and you're thinking, how do I better serve them? How do I get them in front of more customers? Then you really want to be thinking about, how do I get campaigns out on CityGrid to access that very active customer base that is ready to buy. So what you're able to do in a nutshell here is create a local campaign for each store using store-level data. Now, what's really neat is you can create campaigns, in groups, or you can create them at the individual store. So Store 1 and Store 55 are both in Texas, so you could have a Texas campaign, and that can fire off to those different stores. You could also have Store 1 and Store 55 having separate campaigns, but we're able to create these campaigns and push them out to people who are directly searching in those regions. You can start and stop the campaigns as the locations open and close. You can manage them specifically to the store-level budget. You can tailor directly to one of the location's attributes, such as their hours, so they can get extremely individualized. And again, Kenshoo Local is sitting in the middle here. Kenshoo Local is the interface at which you're going to create these campaigns and be able to push them out into CityGrid. And for a brand that has hundreds, thousands of stores, or an agency that is serving that volume, this is an amazing interface. What gets even better is that you can upload hundreds or thousands of place page campaigns in bulk, and then you can bulk edit them in Kenshoo. So what we provide from that perspective to users of CityGrid is this enterprise scale of a UI. We provide the tools that allow you to manage that scale. So you can create and manage, you can report, all using the Kenshoo interface, which is a tried and true interface. You can view your performance alongside search. We'll talk about that more on the next page, but it's really, really important when you're thinking about your local campaigns to be thinking about it holistically. And when I say that, what I mean is looking at your search, for paid search, side by side with these local campaigns that would be on CityGrid. So you can see, okay, these campaigns are working very well, these campaigns aren't, and see all of that in one place so that you're able to adjust and reinvest your budget as opportunities present themselves. And being able to see that in one place is important. And then ultimately our goal here is to drive phone calls and in-store visits. And of course, when we think about the phone calls, Kenshoo's call conversion optimization is really important and plays a big role here in being able to optimize towards that. So again, right here is a screen that kind of gives you an idea of what does seeing everything side by side look like. Well, you can see CityGrid moving campaign. Then I have my Bing mobile moving and storage campaign. Then my Bing desktop moving and storage campaign. My Google Enhanced campaigns for moving and storage. I can see how are those performing. Which one has a better ROI? Is the cost per click lower on this one and really converting well? But maybe I want to take some budget out of the storage campaigns and put them into the moving campaign. You can make all these decisions really effectively by being able to see not only all your channels, but all of your different campaigns across those channels in one place, and using a tool like Kenshoo that gives you that flexible sort of reporting and filtering and actionability all in one place. It's really important and it's very valuable. So Kenshoo and CityGrid, to try and wrap up this value here, is one, we're trying to allow you to extend all overall advertising budgets to capture local and mobile traffic from the CityGrid network. We want to enable you to be able to create campaigns, manage budgets, and report on the performance of CityGrid campaigns alongside your search advertising, as well as to be able to upload this place data to Kenshoo Local to easily create the CityGrid campaigns at an enterprise scale. And when we think about CityGrid, if you're familiar with Kenshoo Local, we think about different channels that you can push campaigns out to. So originally, Kenshoo Local had on the left Google AdWords and the Yahoo Bing network as the two main channels that we pushed ads out to. What we've done here is we've added in CityGrid as another channel. So CityGrid functions alongside those and allows you to push campaigns directly out onto that network as well. So it's a third major channel here. And it's really big. It's a huge opportunity, and it allows you to look beyond the engines. So at this point, I'm going to take a look at questions here.
So we have a question. On slide 7, I'm not understanding the red change percentage. So John, if you want to maybe jump to slide 7. Okay, so I can actually take this one. So I know I skimmed over this pretty quickly, and it's a very important and critical slide. I know it's a little bit deceiving. The red line looks like there's a decline. What we're really seeing here is that while the spending opportunity is becoming more and more important each year and growing, the gap between the year over year is starting to narrow. So that's what the percentage of change means, that the spend levels are going up, but as the years progress through 2016, the year over year growth is declining. So that's an interesting observation, because what we're seeing is that between now and potentially 2016, the growth will happen, but not as fast as it's happened over the last couple of years. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, question. What about using call tracking lines for online advertising, such as pay-per-call or city search? Does this hurt the accurate data strategy? John, you want to take that one?
Yeah, and I'll give my spin on it, but you know, I'd also love to hear from Steve. I don't believe that it does hurt the data accuracy. If they're clicking if they're clicking through to the ad, it shouldn't. If you're using call extensions, that should be able to be tracked. And if you're using call tracking on the back end, we definitely will pick up the call going in, and then we're even able to optimize against that. So, you know, actually getting phone calls is a great way to improve your accuracy because you know, you're able to see that on the back end. So it all depends on how you set it up, but it should improve accuracy if set up correctly using all the tools you have available to you. Steve, what's your spin on that?
Yeah, John, you're absolutely correct. So when I said that each of the sites reference the information on the other sites, they look at the core organic information, so the unpaid listing, how that is formatted and loaded into the system. When the sites reference one another, they actually do ignore paid listings because they know that each of their sites does different things in terms of call tracking, formatting, what is visible, what isn't visible. So there's no need to worry about possible data accuracy or deranking issues by having a call tracking number in a paid campaign.
Great, thanks. Steve from Sim Partners, when you're talking about citations, what exactly are citations? Please define, and why are they so important?
Okay, so there are actually two different major types of citations out there called structured and unstructured citations. So a structured citation is when you go to yellowpages.com or City Search and you see your business name, the address, the phone number, a link to your local, the local website for that location. That's structured. The format of the information of the core information is consistent and standard. There's also unstructured. So unstructured would be a blogger who happens to visit a restaurant and really enjoys it. So the information that they put on in their blog post about their review of this location would be unstructured because the information isn't formatted a certain way. And when the search engines and the directories are running to look at how each of these sites show information, they do take into account structured versus unstructured. Why citations in general are important? Honestly, the way that I normally describe this is citations are really sort of a popularity contest. So basically a citation would be word of mouth in the online world. Who's talking about you, how many people are talking about you, and how recently have they been talking about you. So your information on City Search, the reviews on Yelp, and the blogger who just wrote about you are all ways that people are talking about you and how soon they're talking about you, or how recently, I should say, they've been talking about you. When serving up results on the search engines or in the directories, these sites are most interested in serving the most relevant results to the searcher. And a relevant result is accurate information, but it's also what people are most likely talking about and thinking about. So if a lot of sites have your information mentioned, that's a lot of sites that are talking about you, and therefore you're popular in the eyes of these search engines, and you're going to end up ranking higher for that.
That's great. Thanks, Steve. I know that's really critical, and we hear that from customers all the time, or potentially prospects we're talking to, not really understanding why a citation may or may not be important, so thanks for sharing that. I think maybe we'll get to one more question, and then I'll pass it back over to Julie. I know we're closing in on the hour here. Question, how are budgets determined during the planning process, or what sort of costs are associated? So I guess I would probably turn that over to John. I know we can certainly talk offline with individuals on pricing components for Kenshoo Local, but certainly, what does the budget planning process look like, John? Any transparency there?
First, I think what's really important to understand is that the budget planning process is enhanced by the amount of visibility you have into how your campaigns are working. So assuming that you're already doing some digital marketing, being able to have that holistic look of what are all of my digital channels doing and see that side by side, so we can make the call and say, okay, we need to put more into this campaign, or we need to put more into this channel. Whatever the level of granularity we're talking about in terms of this mix is, that's greatly enhanced by being able to view that holistically in terms of how do I figure out, which channels to go to, or how to plan how much to spend. How much to spend really depends on the individual business. That's a tough one to answer in a few seconds. But which channels you go to, I think at the local level that does depend on a little bit around the business. But if you're trying to drive traffic in stores, if you're trying to drive calls, I think that the channels that we see are the most useful ones really is pay-per-click search, right? So the Google AdWords campaigns as well as the Yahoo Bing campaigns, and then being able to put your campaigns out to the local sites and mobile applications with CityGrid, which is why we did this integration. So I think looking at those sorts of channels are the ones to be looking at, and then you figure out at the individual business level how much you want to put into them. And then when you want to plan those, what you want to be doing is looking at the information on how all those campaigns and the channels they're in are performing side by side, so you can make a holistic decision. I can't stress enough how important it is to make it holistically with everything in front of you there. So I hope that answers the question. Thank you everyone for your time, and we'll turn things back over to Julie.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan, Steve, and Tara for conducting the presentation. A lot of great material here. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us at LSA, and we'll make sure to put you in touch with today's presenters. Please keep an eye out for future email blasts that promote next month's webinar. We have a wonderful summer schedule of dynamic speakers lined up. Also, August 21st to the 22nd is the Social Plus Mobile Conference in Chicago, Illinois. Check out the LSA website for more information on registering. And with that, I want to thank everyone again. Have a wonderful day.